Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Midweek Metagame. I'm your host, Gabriel and Nassif, joined by my regular co-host, EdgarMTG.
How's it going, everyone? I see you didn't even try my last name this week.
I'll mix it up. Tons to get in this week. We're going to be talking decent bit about Modern. Edgar and I have been playing. I decided not to go to my RC, but still playing Modern, and Edgar is definitely going to his. We're going to talk Historic. There's an Arena qualifier coming up this weekend. We both managed to get 6 wins in a play-in past weekend, so we'll talk about that. Kind of a fun format, interesting. We'll see if your experience is the same as mine, but I've been playing in basically one deck over and over again. Um, and I think I have something I like. We'll be talking, maybe mention Standard real quick. There's a Spotlight series this weekend. It's pretty ridiculous. And also tiny bit of Legacy. Did you play the showcase, Edgar?
I did not know.
Okay, well, I'll talk. I played 2 rounds of Legacy, but it was kind of still fun and interesting. Yeah, tons to get in. But before we get into the podcast, quick reminder, if you want to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/midweekmetagame. You can also go give Edgar a follow on social, check out my stream on Twitch, I have a YouTube channel, all that good stuff. It helps, all adds up. And I'd like to shout out the sponsors too, Ultimate Guard. If you need sleeves, deck boxes, they're amazing. They have great product. If you live in the EU, you can shop directly on their website and you can use my code Nassif 15%, or I'll put it in the description, or you can check it out on my stream, but you get a discount all year round. You can use it as many times as you want. Also TCG Player, if you need cards in the US, they're a great marketplace, tons of options. Easy way to get cards there. And yeah. Well. Another week. There's a couple RCs or one RC. We've been playing Modern, and I'm curious to see where you're at because we haven't talked since last week, really. And I'm also very curious to know what's going on in Historic on your side because I've been playing a bit and learning about the format. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. There was a couple RCs. Well, there was one Chinese RC last weekend, same as the US, and we didn't talk about it. And there was also an Australian RC past weekend that was won by a Ruby Storm. Kind of a mystery to me. I talked to Jehikoi, one of my um, Australian longtime subs, I think even mod, and he said apparently we could get James Drake, who won on the podcast, if we wanted to. I'm not sure if it was a joke or not. I said Storm player, no thank you. Obviously it's a joke. I'd actually be interested to know how one wins was a deck that feels like just you snooze, you lose, or they snooze on you, you lose. It's a mystery to me, so it would actually be interesting. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's that mythical skill. We always talk about like some decks are just more skill intensive than others when really it's probably not the case. But anyways, whatever the case may
Yeah, I
be.
know. Maybe he threaded the perfect needle, like leading up to this event. It's funny because a couple of days before, a buddy of mine had mentioned that he felt like Storm was well positioned in the format, which people love to talk about. And I responded just saying like basically to pretend that that deck never exists and you'll be better off. Like even if it seems well positioned, it's kind of a non-functional deck. And then I had to eat my own words when James basically he didn't just win his event, he completely destroyed it. I think he lost like 2 total games the whole event. Like it was quite impressive.
Oh wow, he actually did on at least 2 total games. He had 2 intentional draws, 9 wins. That is kind of absurd. I wonder if let's see, what are some bad matchups for Storm? I would assume most decks are bad matchups though, but yeah, no, he absolutely crushed it, and his list is like super stock. He's not playing the new 1 mana cantrip kind of like mini Rinse Resolve. Um, that's a card that people have been trying out online. His sideboard looks pretty stock. The 4 Ohms Chant, the 4 Prismatic Ending. Yeah, no.
Yeah, something we see a lot is, when you're splashing white, sometimes they have flage, and then sometimes we see a green splash for Veil instead. But yeah, I think the white splash is more common, and having just maximum pendings and orange chance, it seems like he knew what he wanted to beat and how to beat it.
Yeah, no. Quick look at the top eight. So James 1 was Ruby Storm, Esper Goryo's in the finals. Boris Energy is at Prowess. Goldguard Brew Skill is at Affinity. Boris Energy is at Affinity. And they're the first Jeskai Blink, which was kind of the talk of modern at the USRC. Best place finisher ninth. As far as the Chinese one go, just kind of more of the same bit of everything. Is it
Yeah,
Affinity
to be clear, the
Vengeance?
this Chinese RC was the week prior. We just
Yeah,
didn't talk about it last week, so these people didn't have the information from the US RC that we all gained. Mainly the rise of Just Guy Blink, I suppose, is kind of the biggest contributor.
yeah, yeah. But I think we figured we wouldn't harp too much on it, and you can check the results out on Melee, and I was more interested in knowing what you've been up to. Your RC is not for a while, right? It's the same weekend as a European one, so in 4 weeks. But
Yeah, three or 4 weeks, something like that. 3.5, I guess, at this point. And yeah, I've been mostly just keeping up to date. I've been, kind of focused on historic this past week, so I haven't been playing too many games, but I watched as much as I could and I played a little bit. I've been kind of lower on Gorios than I've been in the past, which maybe isn't saying all that much considering how high I was. Um, I guess my biggest question is to figure out how good these Jeskai decks actually are. Like it obviously performed really well in the States, but at the Australian RC, which was albeit a very small event, it didn't do spectacular or anything, but it has also been doing pretty well online. I know Misplaced Skinker won 2 challenges this week playing the deck, and it's been putting up some other consistent results as well. So that's kind of like my front runner in terms of Blink decks, but I'm also open to exploring some other strategies. Mainly the one that has kind of been creeping into my head the last couple days is Blue Eye Control, which I'm sure you're going to be happy to sell me on.
hey, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Blue-Eyed Control this week. I saw a Matrix earlier today, and it was kind of, how do you say, unequivocal, or I don't know if that's a word, but it was just Titan, huge sample, 56% win rate, best by far. So I was curious to know if you had played any Titan this week.
I mean, yeah, I definitely need to do that because you're completely right. It's the numbers are damning, if anything, where it's too good to ignore, and I think it's I need to put my due diligence into figuring out if that's a breach situation or not, if that's the way you want to put it. But yeah, I think the deck is quite good. Um, I'm still not convinced that it's like the be all end all, but I need to try it out for myself to figure that out for sure.
Yeah, I had someone who was making fun of me today. He was saying like, "Oh God, you make top hit once was blue eyed, and now it's like 2 months of blue eyed control." And I answered that honestly. I feel like right now I can either play blue eyed control and probably be on par with a lot of the other decks, or if I want to meaningfully improve my win rate, it might just be exactly picking up Titan and nothing else. So
Yeah,
yeah,
especially if Jeskai ends up being, kind of just like a solid deck and not a great deck, then it kind of narrows the options there.
yeah, I'm not gonna be able
One
to
of the
help
reasons
you.
I was
I was gonna say I
one of the
played.
reasons I was super
Go ahead, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
All right, I was just gonna say I played one league with Jeskai Blink. I think I won one free drop, or it was a prelim, or whatever it was, and it didn't feel like much of a deck. I guess my draws were not great. I think maybe I played Price twice in these 4 rounds, and that matchup seemed tough, even though on paper you should be favored. I think maybe we actually talked about it last week, so it might be a repeat because we recorded Monday, and I think I did my due diligence before the podcast. So yeah, probably just repeating myself, but yeah, I haven't touched the deck since. but it does seem like it's been doing well. It's showing up a lot. And you mentioned Ginger. It's funny because I watched him play one match against Affinity and kind of disagreed with a lot of his surveil decisions and his sideboarding too. But clearly he's been doing well with the deck, so he probably knows what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and he's played Boros Energy for like a year before that, and there's some like the deck kind of feels a little Jundy. Like at the end of the day, like whether or not it's a 45% Jund deck or a 55% Jund deck, I don't know. But yeah, a lot of drawn out games. It does feel a little mopey at times, though. I would definitely agree with that. But I think in terms of if you feel like Riddler Ephemerate is the thing you want to do, like that's kind of the big question for me, right? Like if I decide I want to Riddler Ephemerate, is it better to do that or is it better to Gorios? And that's a question that I don't know the answer to because it's felt like as people have developed their lists, the Gorios has felt less good heads up against some of these decks or even against other strategies as people kind of learn how to play against it or pack an adequate amount of hate. So maybe it's a little bit better to just be on that fair side and not have those awkward draws.
Yeah, no idea. I've been mostly playing Blue Eye, so maybe can get into that. I had some good results, some good runs, some less good runs. I was in the semis of a challenge when my computer just kind of crashed on me. So I was 7 wet at that point, paired against Gorios. And then I think the next day I went 2-5. So definitely, not all win all the time. I went 3-1 in a prelim today. I tried something slightly different. And the deck has just felt good. I played against Jeskai Blank a lot, and I got to kind of figure out a bit what the cards I needed, my sideboard plan. I am boarding out Chance Scepter in a lot of matchups, but I think it makes sense, especially against a deck with Teferi encounters and that can miss with your planeswalkers. So right now I have this is a list I did well in the challenge with and then less well, and you see I have a lot of disputes. I have 3 disputes. I have that one Shark Typhoon, and I have the 4th ending for all the Ragvan decks mostly. I also have pretty heavy on Purge and Besa for energy, which is tough, and Prowess is another tough matchup. So this is what I played in the challenge. I had the 1 March, 1 Rav Disguise for Saga decks. Rav Disguise just pretty solid overall, honestly. Probably should have a second one in the sideboards. I'm still doing the Dresdown Rest in Peace main deck thing. That stuff's felt good. And yeah, the Jace, Teferi, a bit of everything, kind of classic me's, lots of one-ofs. But deck felt pretty good, pretty well-rounded. Nothing too greedy on the mana. And today I tried a version was only 1 arms chance. Basically, I cut most of the chance in the scepter and played a little more interaction. And I went back up to 4 Narset, 2 Teferi, 2 Days Undoing. Try to lean a little more into that. I have the 4 endings in the main. I have 4 counter spells in the main. I have even more help. I have a 5th card for these prowess and energy matchups. So I have 1 Bisa, 2 Sunset Revelry in the sideboard, 2 Purge, and the second Rav Disguise. ID behind Revelry is that it's pretty solid on 2, and you can find it up Narset. So, Timely Reinforcement's still a card, but I had a game today where I was on the play, and you just naturally kind of go, if you just go land, and they go land creature, and then you go land sunset, that's just like 2 creatures, potentially the life, and the card back. So that's pretty nice. Sunset you can find up Narset. Bisa is kind of nice. You can find it up the Monumental Henge, which can come up. But yeah, that matchup was definitely tough. I went 1-1 against Prowess. two free end games, and honestly, the two games I won, they didn't have the greatest draw, so you could argue I lost every game where they drew well. I think I also lost both Daryl, so it's like really small sample, but I think you definitely need the help in these matchups, honestly, because I don't think Orm's chance always super amazing. So yeah, and then honestly, I can't remember really what I played against in the challenge when I top eighted, but I remember just kind of running good. The opponent's kind of not having it. The Jeskai Blinks, they have like a couple windows to top deck, and they don't. That stuff. Them not seeing a flage in their top 15, 20 cards. I felt like that happened a few times. So definitely solid results, but it's not like I felt like the deck's broken. And I will say there's an open deck listing. I think that's always real when you're playing control. So that's definitely an added bonus. Even though on Magic Online, you can still look up your opponents, kind of have a good feel for what they're playing. Um, but
Bigger
yeah,
deal to know like the exact threats and interaction points they have though when it comes to open deck lists with deck like this.
yeah,
I
especially
think.
with Orange Chance Scepter, it can be nice
Right.
to know what that for a Scepter. And yeah, I'm not sure which version's better, honestly, because I do feel like I was winning a lot of games was just a fast Scepter in game ones, even when I was boarding at the Scepters after when they have more interactions and whatnot.
How often do you think you win with Scepter without having to Fairy in play as well?
Um, it's a good question, but there's some decks that can't really beat it, right?
Right.
Like a random like Esper Bling deck. They don't have answers in the main, especially if you have get fast with 5 mana, keep making land drops, and you can have a counter spell back up. Um, yeah, I'm not too sure, but the scepter definitely makes you think like, oh, why am I not playing a second scepter? Maybe uh, could maybe be right. Who knows?
Yeah, I was thinking if it's like even correct to because I noticed the differences between your two lists. Like it kind of feels like you want more Narset, but feel like you needed the fairies when you have the chance stuff. But like maybe that's not even the case, and you should just build the deck how you want to build it, and then also just have a couple chance and or a couple scepters and some chance in there.
Yeah, it's tough. A lot of people still play Fort to Fairy for Narset, and maybe I'm just making the AI worse. But it's kind of the side of me that doesn't like the cheese too much, and I'm trying to not lean too much into it, and also feels like just casting the fairies over and over again might not be the greatest. And if you're boarding out the chance, maybe you need a more grindy, coherent list after sideboards. So yeah, it's hard to say. There's a lot of theory in it, but maybe I'm not. To be fair, I'm never really. It's pretty rare that I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely the way to do it. Um,
Yeah, it's
because
really hard to tell when it comes to decks like these. I think because like obviously when it's good, you're gonna draw it, and then it's gonna seem like it's great. But it's hard to tell when what if it was something else, if it was gonna help you in another matchup, stuff like that.
yeah, I feel also haven't played a lot of different matchups. I feel like I've played a lot against prowess, a lot against Jeskai Bling decks, other kind of Bling decks. I wonder if I've played against Titan a single time, for instance, in the past week, or maybe once max. Even then, I'm not sure. I might have literal played like zero Titan decks in these, 15 rounds of challenge, plus the prelim today, plus whatever else other league I played. So
I think that makes sense because Titan is like an extremely tedious deck to play on Moto. So I think very few people are really like jamming leagues with it and stuff like that. And even in the challenges, I feel like you play against it way less than you should compared to how well it's been performing in paper.
you play less than you should compared to how well it's been doing, but I feel like I play against Titan more often than whatever the percentage says on Goldfish usually. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, a decent bit is I get paired against Canister, and a lot of times it's like
Yeah.
these 12-person prelims because we're on the same time zone, and
Right.
I'm in them, and Canister's in them. So I mean, literally 12 people. You play 4 rounds. I'm going to play against just a third of the time against him, just from stuff like that. So and
Probably
there's
more than that because
yeah, if we're
the
both
two of you are more
winning.
likely to win. Yeah.
I'm not sure it's always been the case in the past year, but yeah, recently I've done decent. Some challenges, top A's, better results in prelims. Yeah, I
One thing I
like.
was gonna say about blue-eye control that was kind of the reason why I mentioned it earlier was that I was just looking at the metagame and trying to like look at common pain points or common ways to kind of attack it, and I just kind of feel like dress down is an extremely good card in the format right now, and I was kind of trying to wrap my brain around what the best way to play that card would be, and I actually had a bit of a brain fart moment in the middle of the week where I was thinking about blinking dress downs with Felia and stuff like that, which obviously does not work. But I was more just trying to, figure out what the best shell for it is, and it might just be blue-white control, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, the card is just it seems so good right now. Like Urza Saga is at an all-time high. Obviously, it's a fantastic card against Amulet. I think it's got good spots against all the blink strategies, especially Goryo's, and it's the type of card where it's kind of it makes their interaction a little bit more awkward than some of the other type of cards you can play. So, um, yeah, that's kind of been the main reason why I wanted to try blue white or to think about blue white a little bit more.
Yeah, it's so good in modern. The question is, does it really fit the Orm's Chance plan? Are you not spinning your wheels a little too much if you have bogeys cards? I mean, I've talked about dress down a million times, but basically it buys you time. It makes even something like a Ragvan less of a threat for a bit. Plays well with the sweepers. It can backfire sometimes at a spot today where I dressed down cycled against Esper Blink, and they used it to put a Solitude into play, pitching an ending, and that Solitude kind of pressured me for a bit. I'm not sure it was that big of a deal. There's also the sequencing. You need to be a little careful against Jeskai Blink, against Flage decks in general. You need to be really careful when, because there's some spots where you want to play it in your end of turn. One thing that comes up sometimes is they play Voice of Victory, so you need to play the dress down in your end of turn to shut it down, and then they get to play Flage and stick a Flage. So
I
that can
see.
be a little scary if you're in that spot. That's happened to me a few times.
Like, is that happening to you on turn three? You mean? Like, are you playing dress down just to like prevent the two damage? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because also I have to cycle it. I need to dig in
Right.
my hand. Yeah, they'll just go Voice of Victory. I'll go end step dress down so that it stays in their turn and saves me some damage. Also it does stub them if their hand is not Flage and their hand Seasoned Pyro or a
Or
Johnny,
Ragavan.
yeah, or Ragavan, like basically anything but a
Yeah.
Flage. It's like really good to have Dresden in play, and obviously the Voice of Victory makes it so that you can't play it on their turn, so you have to make a decision on your end step. But
Right. That makes sense.
it's definitely backfired once or twice when it was the Flage thing. Um, yeah, and it's obviously one of the best cards against Titan. It's one of the best cards against Urza Saga, maybe the best card. Sometimes it feels better than marching it because they invest their 2 turns making tokens, and
And you get your card back.
you get your card back. Yeah,
I guess they get an artifact. That's the difference.
yeah.
But usually that doesn't matter as much.
No, especially when they invested the mana in it. So amazing cards. I do you need? I feel like I love Dress Down, but I've also been kind of sold on the whole Orange Chance package. So I think you
Yeah,
can.
that's kind of what I wanted to get out of you to see how you feel about that. And yeah, I agree with you that those things kind of compete. But I mean, you still had a few copies even in your Orange Camp build, so maybe that balance is kind of just the best thing you can do.
Yeah, there's just not that many. It's still the same thing, right? It comes down to the fact that there's not that much um, interesting, exciting interaction spells. So I feel like Dresdown's kind of helps you make your land drops too, which is not nothing. It helps you interact a bit with their board. It gives you games against, I mean, if you're not playing Dresdown at all, then you don't have a ton of game against Titan, against Saga, so it does so many little things. And it's been nice because Dresdown you play it early, and then Chan is you start playing them when you have an Arset or a Teferi in play to keep them in play one more turn. So they don't necessarily compete. And yeah, Dresdown helps you keep everything in check, kind of a thing. Because I don't want to. You don't want to. I'm not even playing Force Solitudes right now. I don't love it. I don't really like subtlety. You don't want to play a million counter spells. I'm not a big spell snares fan. Um, Even scolding, which I like, has been hit or miss. And the ending's pretty solid, especially right now with all the Ragavans. Wouldn't mind playing from that, but you don't want too many sweepers. March not that great, so there's just not that much left, honestly, and just feels kind of good to have that cycling card that helps you a lot and that solves problem that very little other cards solve. Yeah, so
Makes a lot of
that's
sense.
where I'm at. Yeah, you've played some leagues this week or not? Mostly just
No, not with
thinking
blue eye
about
control.
stuff. No, I
No.
mean was
Yeah.
Gory? Did you play some more with Gorios? Did you?
No, I only played a little bit with Jeskai Blink.
Yeah,
That's about it. Yeah, just trying some of the new configurations. I tried Ginger's list, which I mean isn't too far off from stock, but yeah, kind of wanted to get a feel of what was happening online.
yeah. People have not been messing too much with the list that won the USRC.
Hmm.
Still very similar. Maybe the sideboards I haven't kept track, but yeah, cool. Should we talk a bit about? I played the Legacy Showcase. I decided to just play Blue Red stock Blue Red Delver without Delver. I guess is it no Delver? I went 0-2. I lost to Band Control. I kind of not Band Control, Band Blank actually. Band Blank was Beanstalk, Riddler, Philia, Force of All, Solitude, that kind of stuff. I kind of lost to my own Blood Moon in game two. I had the one Blood Moon that I brought in,
Classic.
and I played it when they had no basics, but I didn't have my basic island. I only had one, and it kind of backfired. So I might have won if I hadn't cast it. So that was interesting. It was a fun match. And then I lost to the deck that tries to abuse the land that has all types, kind of. They play Urza's Tower, and
Oh yeah,
it's an artifact deck. And I also
it's a
think
Mystic Forge deck, I think. Yeah.
they have a Chalice, and mostly I lost the sideboard games to Bargoyf. They have 4 Bargoyfs in the sideboard.
Oh, the black version. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I basically they played an explosives in game one, and I brought in Null Rod because it was kind of I thought it was okay against them, but it turns out that it was not. I kind of tunnel vision, and I have my own bubbles, and I think I would have won if I had a card that was not Null Rod in my hand in game three, and I might have not played the greatest, but I don't know. I thought it was really fun. Anytime I play these blue red decks, I really have fun. It was just the case was Murktide in Modern. Um, I decided to not play anything fancy, kind of played the quote unquote best deck, and it made me want to play more Legacy. And I love these, the brainstorm, all that stuff, the sequencing, aggro control. So yeah, I don't know if Legacy is an especially good spot right now because I don't play the format, but I will say I did enjoy my 5 games of Legacy and just thinking about the format and thinking about maybe how it build the deck. I was thinking maybe play extra bubbles because you get to play Urza's bubble if you want to. Maybe not the full 4, but maybe go up to 5 or 6 bubbles to go with your channelers and your cutters and all the fetching and whatnot. Instead of some of the cards people play in the main. So that was fun. And then I guess let's talk a bit about historic. Why don't you start with your best of one experience? Um,
Yeah. So,
if you want to remind
um,
people to how you qualify, etc.
yeah. So there was So historic Arena Championship Qualifier is this coming weekend. The weekend before they have best of one qualifiers. So it's a open entry. If you win seven games before losing twice, then you qualify for the Arena Championship, and you only need to, or the qualifier, and you only need to do that if you didn't hit top 1200 Mythic or whatever. Um, anyway, so I decided to play that since I wasn't qualified, and I had a buddy of mine send me a blue-white flash list that looked, interesting enough to try. Um, I didn't love a lot of the choices in the list, so I ended up changing a bunch of cards. I went up to 4 Tamios. I cut like these main deck Wraths that seemed out of place and some other sorcery speed cards and just played some more flash threats. I added Tidebinders, additional counter spells. I added Spell Snares. But yeah, the deck plays 4 Remand, 4 Reprieve, 4 Fragment Reality, which is like a Swords of Plowshares type card, arena only. And then the full 8 copies of the counterspell creatures, so Aven Interrupter Spellqueller, as well as 4 Talion's Throne Guard, which is a 4 mana 4/2 that kind of remands a spell when it enters as well. And the main focal point of this deck is that it's a main deck High Noon deck, so you kind of pseudo lock your opponent into horrible exchanges with all of your tempo plays by bottlenecking them to 1 spell per turn. And yeah, ended up doing pretty well with the deck. And I played against a lot of aggro decks. I played against one Eldrazi deck. Actually added a main deck Consigned to Memory as well, which ended up coming up pretty huge. But that matchup did not feel overall that great. And I know that ever since that event, and I've been testing some other decks, Eldrazi kind of seems to be the boogeyman of the format, so that makes me a little bit hesitant. But yeah, I think the deck's solid, but I doubt it's the best thing to be doing. Eldrazi probably is the best thing to be doing, but even outside that, I don't think that this blue deck, white deck is anything spectacular, but it seems pretty solid for sure.
Yeah, it's a deck that's been around for a while. I think it's one of Croaky's go-to decks, and I definitely think I would have really struggled against that. I got pretty lucky as well. I was not qualified, so I played the best of one plane like you did. We had to get 6 best of 1 wins before you got a second loss, and I someone suggested I play this reanimator list. It plays so for those of you not on YouTube, because we do upload the app on YouTube now. Channel's called Midweek Metagame. It is trying to reanimate Scholar of the Lost Trove, which is a 7 mana creature that lets you cast a spell from your graveyard when it comes into play, or Conspiracy Unraveler, which lets you cast spells from your hand by collecting Evidence 10. You get to play Looting, Gaze. The deck has Taigam Scheming, which is 2 mana Surveil 5. You have 4 Izzet Charm, which was really nice because I played the mirror 3 times and it counters Persist. So you have Persist and Life Depth. So you're basically either reanimating Scholar and trying to cast something like an Emergent Ultimatum off it, or you're trying to put Unraveler into play and you can either cast Ultimatum, you can cast Breach the Multiverse. There's like a couple alchemy cards, or I guess Expropriate is not an alchemy card, right? Basically, there's a card that lets you Time Walk. There's a card that lets you put every creature in your deck in play, but the gist of it is, you can kill on turn 2 by going Looting or Gaze into persistent creature, kills turn 3 very consistently. My one loss was just I spun Mad Wheels against Boris Energy. I think they won the die roll and killed me on their turn 4, and I got my whole run done. So 7 games in between a round of challenge, so in like 30 minutes. So that was lucky, great, all of the above. But I'm not sure that deck can sustain any kind of graveyard hate. So far, anyways, I didn't even bother playing it in the best of 3 queues. I had the same experience as you though. all I play against is Eldrazi. It's actually the first deck I played. I played a couple runs of the Metagame Challenge. I went 4-1 was Eldrazi, and then I went 4-1 was Juntlist. Have you had a chance? You said you you know Eldrazi is the boogeyman of the format. Have you played a lot of best of threes, and what have you played in the
Yeah, so I've been playing on the ladder mostly. I didn't play any of the metagame challenge, but yeah, I've been mostly working on two decks, and it's funny that you mentioned Jund because Jund is actually one of the decks that I've been working on as well. Um, it's funny because obviously I don't think either of us are super familiar with the format, so I kind of started off after my run. I was like, okay, let me actually try to figure out what's going on in this format, and I was looking through all the cards and figuring out what's legal and stuff like that. Trying to read all the alchemy cards that I hadn't seen before. I've played a lot of alchemy in the past, but obviously every set they have a bunch of new ones, so it's hard to keep up.
And
Um,
they also nerf
and
a
yeah,
lot of stuff. Like last time there was a qualifier. I did kind of well, I think, and Madness qualified. It was a list that me and Jose tuned. Madness actually qualified, and it was Sorin trying to put that vamp in play. So it's kind of a
yeah, Santa
Sorin combo
Lambda.
deck, and a lot of energy. And energy got nerfed. They nerfed the Sorin because now you can't put a vamp that costs more than 6, so you can't put the 7 mana Vamsane and Lenda. You can still put in like Vein Rippers if you want, but that's probably not as good, not good enough.
Right.
So I was kind of familiar, I guess, with the format, but it just changed a lot.
Yeah, no, Ocelot Pride costs 2 now, I think is the big change for that deck.
Yeah,
And Guide of Souls costs 4 energy. So yeah,
exactly.
a lot of shakeups all the time with the alchemy cards. Um but yeah, what I was getting at is that I played a lot with Jarsoul and Cruxus before, the red green and the black red planeswalkers, mostly in alchemy. I don't think I played them last time I played Historic. I think last time I played Historic I also played just the Boros deck. Um but yeah, I saw that those were still around. I was like, oh, neat. And then I noticed that Pyrogoyf was legal. I don't know when that happened, but that's obviously a card that I think is extremely powerful in Legacy and in Vintage Cube. And I was like, well, maybe I'll give that a try. And I put together a Jund deck that had Pyrogoyf, Crucius, Jarsoul, and all the good Jund cards that I could think of. And that was one of the decks that I was working on.
All right. Well, I'm gonna bring up my list, and we can go through it, and you can tell me what you
Mm-hmm.
like, what you don't like. So, for those of you in the listening to the podcast, the list is full. It has Giganta. You're playing Ignoble Hierarch, Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Push, Rumble's one of the best cards. Basically, kind of the best two cards in the deck are Malevel and Rumble, which everyone knows, and then a card called Jarsil Dark Age of Scion. Dark Age Scion. It's a 3 mana 3/3 for red green 1. It has an alchemy ability called Starting Intensity, which is kind of like you put a counter. So basically, what it does is you play it, it starts at 1, and at the beginning of your combat, you get to play a 1 mana spell from your graveyard. So, typically you want to go turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 something, turn 3 Jar Sale, get to replay my Thoughtseize. Then the next turn, you get to replay ideally like maybe a Rumble, and then it goes on. And it's one of the best cards in Alchemy. It's been for a while. And then you round out the deck with 4 of the Black Goyfs, Bargoyf, and right now I have only 3, but 3 or 4 of the Pyrogoyfs. And then there's a million like cards you can play that potentially could be good, but that's kind of the idea of the deck. And it's been really good for me. I've been playing a lot. I've been beating Eldrazi a lot. That's literally all I played against today. I played on the ladder for a few hours, and I just everyone was playing Eldrazi. Mostly it's a blue green list. It's funny because when I played Eldrazi in Historic, I'd never really played it in Modern, and I was like, oh, that's kind of nice, that whole like Ugin's Labyrinth, Temple, Make Us Fun. Those cards are pretty good. So for those of you familiar, maybe it was the modern version. The historic version, the most popular version right now is blue green. You play for Sprawl, for Blue-Green Talisman, for Rumbles, for Command. Free Ugin's Binding. Um, that's a card that doesn't see play in Modern at all, right?
No, I remember trying it out for the PT where it got released, but yeah, it doesn't see any play. It's a little too clunky, but I think with this format being a little slower, maybe it makes sense.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I think it's bad in the mirror. That's the card I was boarding out. You get 4 consign in the sideboard, and that was the card I was trimming. And then you have 4 Make a Spawn, couple Thought Knot Seer, 4 Null Drifter, 4 Devour of Destiny, 2 Emrakul, 2 Sire of 7 Deaths. That's the list that someone gave me, and honestly, it just felt pretty good. So I really didn't change too much. Do you see anything like that surprises you in that list, or does that look pretty good to you?
No, yeah, this looks like exactly the same list that I've been playing against all week. Basically, it seems to be the kind of the consensus way to put this deck together. I was also kind of surprised by the Ugin's bindings, but I guess when you want the consigns, maybe they make a lot of sense. Um, and maybe there's just more limited options for this format.
Yeah. So some people still play the red for Kozilek's return, but um, yeah, I'm not an
Yeah, a
expert.
big pillar of this format is that the mana is kind of bad, right? So there's two big tension points that they or philosophies that they've incorporated in the format. There's no fetch lands other than Prismatic Vista, and the bad Prismatic Vista as well, Fable Passage. Um, so you don't have access to like fetch shockland interactions, so a lot of the mana base are a lot worse. And another thing is that they've banned a lot of the free spells as well. So we don't have any of the evoke elementals. Um, those ones are actually banned, and I think the forces just aren't on Arena, but they wouldn't be in the format even if they were. Um, so that's kind of those two things are kind of like the big tension points in the format, and that's a lot of the decisions are centered around those, I think.
Yeah, they pushed it to the point where it was funny because I was thinking about maybe trying an Enchantress deck, but then I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to beat Rab the Skies, Ugin's Binding, and then Black Green has Calling Ritual. So I was looking for cards. I'm like, oh, I could play the White Flare, and no, the White Flare is also banned because it's a free spell. So they didn't mess around.
Right.
But it's funny they just added some cards today, and they added Snuff Out, which is also free, and it's not gonna be
Yes.
bound. So someone was
I was
making.
gonna mention that actually. So yeah, one of the so talking about my John list comparison to yours, I mean they're very similar, right? Like so, I also have maxing out thought seizes, rumbles, cure souls. I am playing the full fort Pyrogoyfs and Barogoyfs, and then I kind of just rounded it out with different spells than you. I have like Fables of the Mirror Breaker, Assassin's Trophies. I don't have any Perilous Iteration. That's a card that I saw, then decided not to play. I thought it was going to be too clunky, but it's very strong, so I could be wrong there. Um, but yeah, the other card that I added that I realized was in the format, or I was told from someone, was Snuff Out, which is kind of the free spell that snuck in, I guess. And I mean it's a powerful card, no doubt. It's useful in Legacy. Obviously not the best against Eldrazi, but it still can help you, turn the corner. By
They,
double spelling, you get a
they,
free spell when they kill your land.
I'm assuming you didn't get to try it yet, right? Because it just
I
got really.
did, yeah.
Oh, and how
I
did
played
you
some today.
how did you build your mana base to support the swamp and play consistently?
I did not change the mana base at all. I was just prioritizing fetching the swamp more often with my vistas, but
Yeah,
that is probably something I need to look into. I think I have more shocklands than you do. I don't have any peatlands, um, because I'm not playing the Ren in 6. I guess that's part of the reason.
yeah.
And I have less Utopia lands than you do. So I have 4 Vista and 2 starting towns and no mana confluence. So
Hmm.
I already naturally had more actual swamps, I think.
Sounds like your color and mana situation's got to be worse than right.
I thought it was still okay.
No, it's
I
still
mean, I'm
okay.
sure
Yeah.
it's worse. 9, 13. I have 16 black and 16 green.
Okay, I have 17 black, 16 green, and 15 reds. You probably have a little less red too, then,
I
right?
have a little less red, I think,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't have Ren in 6 or Fear of Missing Out.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Perilous Iteration. So it's kind of a weird alchemy card that seeks cards. It's kind of like a Ren's Resolve, but a little different. And I think that card's probably fine. I don't think I would ever play two. I had two in my list today because I just wanted to draw it. I'm not super sold. Um, the list I got was from Doomwake, and he had Birds of Paradise in it, and he had some Fables as well. And I love Fable, but I cut Birds, I added Inquisition. I felt like I wanted to make Jarstill a little better. And it always feels bad when you're playing a card like Hierarch in your deck, and then you have Birds. You're playing kind of an almost, strictly worse version of the card.
Right.
So that kind of put me off it a bit. I think I've been really happy with the Inquisition. I have one fear of missing out, which has been really solid for me. It's a nice, you don't have a lot of enchantments without Fable. It helps you fill up the graveyard. That card's been solid. The one Croxa has been really good. I just love having a Croxa in these Jund decks, these Ragdos deck. I remember always making fun of people who didn't play, enough Croxas in these decks, and um, I think the first one's just really good. It's been solid for me. A Witherbloom Command's been super solid too. It like self-mills a bit. It's good against Eldrazi because it gets Sprawl and Talisman, so you have a lot of targets for it. You mentioned Assassin's Trophy. That's a card I considered because it's really good against the, helps you a bit against the lands. Pretty solid removal against Eldrazi. So that's definitely an option. Have you been happy with Trophy?
Mm, not overly, no. I think it was kind of, I felt like it was a concession to Eldrazi. Um, I mean, it's Assassin's Trophy. It feels horrible when you have to cast it in any fair matchup just to kill a creature or something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice with Jarsoul to have, like an unconditional removal spell. Um, you don't always have the luxury of, just rumbling and building up your board like that. Like sometimes you want to be able to interact. So it was nice in those games sometimes, but if it could be something more streamlined, it would be better. But yeah, I just felt like I needed the universal answer to be able to hit Ugin's Labyrinth and stuff like that.
Yeah, the options are Trophy, you can play Terminate, you can play Shieldred's Edict, but obviously these cards don't hit lands. My reasoning too was that your plan after Cyber against Eldrazi is a lot of it is cleansing Wildfire. It's really cheap, it slows them down, it's pretty easy to replay with Jarsil. So I feel like, you know, maybe the Assassin's Trophy get better after sideboard when you're loading up and you already have cleansing Wildfire. Um,
Right.
and I kind of just wanted to try other cards. The one run in six been pretty solid for me. It won me a game kind of in a random matchup against blue white control. I just started recurring to Kanuma. That is kind of nice. You also have no planeswalkers in the list, so you do have these eight, seven or eight goifs. So it does add up some spots where your goif is 6-7 or 7-8 instead of being a little smaller. So it is nice to have that diversity in permanence. And then the Detective Phoenix, the one has been really really good for me. Highly recommend playing that card if you're gonna play John.
Okay.
It's yeah, the bestow is so nice. One of the big problems was the goifs is that the black goifs gets chummed by the spawns a lot, and Phoenix helps you with that. I was thinking if there's a way to give it trample. Someone mentioned the 2 mana artifact, the one that taps for creatures, and then it gives one of your 4 powers or more creature trample, and you draw a card when they deal damage. But that does not sound like a reasonable card. But yeah, Phoenix been really good, and then Crucia's just it's another classic alchemy card that got nerfed. Uh, it's a bit like a Fable of the Mirror Breakers in some ways, but I think it's kind of better in that deck. And you already have the 4 Bargoyfs. So I ended up just cutting the Fables to not have too many free drops.
Yeah, it makes sense to lower the. I think playing FOMOs and some other two drops makes a lot of sense. You also want your Jarso to be a little bit better. It can be hard to get over that gap sometimes when you don't draw Rumble.
Yeah, because the way Jarsil works
Also,
is you replay one spell that's usually pretty trivial. But if you don't have a 2 mana spell, you can't just level it up to 2 to go up to 3. You need to like play a 2 mana spell to then play a 3 mana spell. You know, potentially you play a Bargo. That almost never happens for me. What has happened is sometimes you play another Jarsil just to reset the intensity. Can be beneficial. So when it gets to 3, you'll play a Jarsil, sag the first one, and then the next turn you get to replay some 1 mana spells and whatnot. But yeah, no, deck's been really solid. I've played. Didn't expect Eldrazi to be a great matchup, but it's been pretty solid so far. I bring in Cleansing Wildfire. I usually board out Fatal Push, unless they're playing the Flesh Raker. Then I keep 1 or 2 pushes in. I have an extra Stone Rain, kind of a 5th LD spell. I think I'm gonna try a Go Blank because you're pretty good at grinding them out and attacking their hands, playing their low resource game, or just nickel and diming them. And it's nice that in theory it's gonna reset Emrakul, make it even harder for them to get to Emrakul, which is their end game, and like not trivial for them to win without casting an Emrakul.
yeah, and sometimes you can hit the bounce spell as well, which could help you tempo them out, or them not catch back up on tempo, I suppose.
Yeah. It is
You also
funny.
mentioned this deck being a 7 or 8 Goyf deck, but you don't have to stop there. You can go up to 12 or 16 if you really wanted to.
Yeah, now the original list had 2 Tarmogoyf, which I didn't even try, but there is also Nethergoyf, which I had 2 of, and they were fine. I was just wanted to try some of the other cards, Kroxa, Phoenix, etc. And I think as far as using your graveyard and whatnot, I think I've liked Kroxa and Phoenix better than the Nethergoyf. I don't feel like the beatdown plan really gets there against Eldrazi. I feel like you need to just grind them out or get them with a bunch of Borgoyfs, start triggering Borgoyfs, putting more Goyfs into play.
Yeah, I agree that you wouldn't cut those cards. One way I was thinking about building this deck was to not build it with Ignoble Hierarch.
Oh,
Because I was finding that sometimes it's not that great to it's obviously not that good to go Ignoble into Jarsoul.
mhm.
A lot of the time, and if you have Barrogoyf but you don't have a fetch land, like sometimes that can be, it's good but like not great. Like especially if they're not a matchup where you're gonna be able to fatal push something or whatnot. So I was thinking like maybe you want to build it with, you already have more discard spells than I do, so that's probably something I should do anyways, but you could play more discard spells, more cheap threats, more removal spells instead,
Yeah, that's really
and just play on
interesting.
curve.
Yeah, I cut the birds right away. I never considered cutting the hierarchs, but yeah, you could play like more lands, more cheap interactive spells. I will say sometimes it's fine to just go, you just go Inquisition into Hierarch plus another spell, or you just even skip the Hierarch and you can still have the deck operates on like you can mulligan to 5 or 6, especially against Eldrazi, and still have pretty good draws just because Jarsil's catches you up and a lot of
Right.
your cards just generate more cards. So
Yeah, and the Exalted's not nothing either, to be honest. Like the extra point of life you get from Barrogoyf or being able to attack into a larger creature has come up for me. So I don't think they're bad or anything. It's just another way you could build it, I think.
yeah, you mentioned Assassin's Trophy, and I guess Snuffat. I didn't get a chance to try that card out, but that card sounds like it'd be really good against like lets you tap out in the mirror, like killing a jar cell seems like it would be kind of
Massive.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then you have push, but yeah, I feel like the next best removal is like not super exciting. Terminate, Edict, Trophy. Um, and
You
then
you could also not build the deck Gigantha, um, and have like Dothy Voidwalker instead. But when I tried to do that, the mana just didn't seem to be functional.
yeah, I saw a list was for Voidwalker. It did sound good to cheese the Emeralds and But I've been fine with that matchup, so I'm not sure I need to be that desperate. I will say the Giganta, I played a decent bit. Maybe it won me a game, not even sure. So definitely marginal.
I don't think I've casted yet. I've added it to my hand and discarded it to Crucius twice, but that I think that's about it.
I think it won me a
So
game maybe in a non-Eldrazi matchup, I want to say, but I'm not even sure. And that's not like the kind of card that's going to be good enough against Eldrazi if that's what you're doing. Um, but yeah, it's been yeah. There's not a ton of cards you really lose out on that you really want. So
yeah, especially circling back to the just the mana issues. I think trying to play double color spells is pretty difficult in a 3-color deck already. Um,
yeah,
especially the cheaper ones. So
I'm assuming that's what I'm gonna play because it's been solid. But I do wanna try blue white control. Uh, One card that the Jund deck cannot really beat is Rest in Peace. It just literally turns your whole deck into nothing. Not Jarsil doesn't replay cards. Your Goyf are 0/1s. Uh, Ren and 6, Truxa, whatever the case might be. So I might try and do my blue-eyed control with Rest in Peace main cards. Obviously needed if you want to beat Emeralds, even though they can just maybe get to 13 mana. But Narset Days on Doing is legal. Orm's Chant is legal. So my plan was to play a bit of John first, just to see what I run into and what I need, how I need to build my blue-eyed deck in the meta. But it appears the meta is just all Eldrazi anyway. So um, yeah, maybe I'll just build it to try and beat Eldrazi. I'm assuming that Jund deck might be popular, especially since there's not a lot of streamers playing Historic right now, so people might just copy whatever I'm doing. Um, we'll see. But that's kind of my plan
it's a
for the
bold
rest of the
statement, Gab.
week.
Wow,
Yeah, very full of
you're the
myself.
voice of historic already.
Uh, I mean, I don't know. Maybe not, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably my current front runner. The only other deck that I've been putting some work into that I think is probably just below the bar was an Esper Blink deck that I was trying. Um, I can send that over to you. But basically, it's a Quantum Riddler Ephemerate deck that we've been seeing, but playing some of the alchemy stuff. I was just trying. I noticed that Baleful Strix was legal in the format, and that's one of my favorite cards. And obviously, Psychic Frog. Originally, I built this blue white, but I was having issues emptying my hand with no pitch spells, no free
Yeah.
spells. So Riddler was kind of not fantastic. So added black, got access to Thoughtseize, got access to Psychic Frog and Baleful Strix, additional blink targets for Felia. I've been trying Oracle of the Alpha and Rusco, which um, are both pretty hit or miss cards, I would say. Sometimes it feels like Oracle is not that strong, but you do take advantage of the moxes with your Riddlers, and if you ever draw Time Walk or Time Twister, then your frogs kind of go crazy. So um, definitely been good sometimes, and you get to play 4 main deck consigns as well, which I think is a big deal. As well as the White Orc and Phantoms in the sideboard. So I felt like this deck would have a lot of good tools against Eldrazi, and that made it worth working on. Another card you could play is the Peddler. It's black white for a 2/2
Yeah,
that
staple.
when yeah, you Thoughtseize your opponent and you give them a Juggernaut. And a cool thing about that card in this shell is that it kind of lines up pretty nice. Like if you turn their spell into a Juggernaut, then you kind of like turn on your consigns in matchups where the consigns
Oh.
aren't great. And also a 5/3 that has to attack kind of lines up pretty poorly against a 4/6. So I thought that that was pretty cool. You can just like play Felia into that and turn their stuff into Juggernauts and then counter them or deal with them as you want. So um, yeah, definitely I think one I'm gonna keep working on this week, but It's felt less good than the Jund deck.
Yeah, someone was saying in my chat today that they actually tried that and they were not beating Eldrazi, even despite the fork and signs, the frogs, the interaction,
Yeah, the
Thoughtseize.
Phantoms. Yeah. No, I could believe it for sure.
Um,
Although I was trying this deck before I realized that Snuff Out was in the format, so maybe getting some Snuff Outs would help too,
yeah,
just to get rid of some of the bigger creatures.
yeah, I'm not sure how important being able to summon a creature against Eldrazi is, but yeah, oh, that's interesting. Like alchemy is cool. There's like there might just there's it feels like there's always someone who breaks it doing these in these formats where
Mm-hmm.
I think last time it was just a different version on Blue Red Wizards that ended up doing really well that like pivoted into a more control shell. I forget. Um, maybe that was
The thing
two
I like
times
about
ago.
these arena tournaments is that, I mean, I obviously I didn't play on the Pro Tour as far back as you did, but this is kind of what I imagine, playing on the Pro Tour in the early 2000s or maybe even the early 2010s felt like, where
You
like
can
there's
just
just so much
break
less
it.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels like these days like everyone kind of gets it, or like at least has access to much of the same information. There's a lot less secrecy, just due to volume, right? But when it comes to these formats, like I try to look up what the metagame is or what a stock deck list looks like, and it can be difficult to find even when you're trying to look for it, right?
Yeah. And a lot of it is like finding the broken alchemy cards. Um, and like for instance, one card I saw, it's the a one green mana enchantment, and I think it's like when one of your creatures gets a +1/+1 counter, you get to seek a creature and it triggers once a turn. So whenever you put a counter on your creatures once a turn, you get a free
You
creature.
draw a spell, yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, um Hardened Scaled is legal and it's kind of a modern power level deck, so um yeah. Just makes you wonder if there's something like that that's maybe broken in alchemy
Yeah, a
that
lot of unexplored potential.
yeah, some combo decks. So definitely overwhelming, but fun. I've been having fun. Just the Juntek's really fun. Getting to practice Eldrazi matchup was interesting. Um, Getting some reps in. We'll see. It's we're recording on Tuesday, so got maybe a couple more days of playing a bit of historic and yeah, just settle on a list. Try to qualify both of us, right? I've never qualified for one of these Arena Championships.
Yep, that's right. Yeah,
I
been
can.
one win away, but haven't qualified.
Yeah, I've been one win and one game win away a couple times ago. So, um, yeah. Anything else you wanted to talk about? I know we didn't even mention the standard spotlight where it was all prowess. Just, I mean, the bans can't come soon enough for standard players,
For
I
sure.
guess. And for us to start our worlds testing. And we'll have to figure out something because it's going to be kind of like what happened last time where we weren't doing the podcast as much because we had a really long time period to plus test for the last Pro Tour, and we felt like we didn't have much to talk about. It was in giving our testing away too much. So maybe we'll try to have like RC winners on, or people who've done well, or some guests, or still play enough of the other formats of modern maybe. Because I guess, yeah, basically the bans are November 10. You have your RCs 2 weeks later. So I'm assuming you're going
Yeah, the
to
turn.
prioritize standard, I mean, but we'll still have
Yeah,
a
and the
bit of
turnaround's
modern
going to
to
be a
talk
lot a
about.
lot shorter than last time. So I think in terms of awkwardness, it'll be less bad because yeah, we're gonna have RCs up until the third week of November, and then the Worlds is only 3 weeks after that. So um, a lot smaller of a gap than we had last time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely committed to trying and keep the 1 week, one episode a week rhythm going. Um, but yeah, standard bands incoming. Um, as
Can't come soon
always.
enough, like you said.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess I was gonna forget. We need to put our lives on the line. So If you never made it this far life on the lines theoretical tournament, if you win, you lose, or if you win, you live. If you lose, you die. And me and Edgar have to bring a deck for the formats we've talked about. So this week is going to be modern and historic. I'll go first for modern. I have still no Titan games under my belt, so I'm gonna go with Blue White Chant. Do I want to go the full Orm's Chant Scepter version or the one I played today? I'm gonna go with the one I played today. Was just maybe one or two chants, no Scepter, and more interactions, more planeswalkers. And for historic, I mean, if the turn was tomorrow, I would just register that Jaunt Goif list. Probably like just one or two tweaks to the main deck. Maybe try and figure out the snuff out situation with the swamps and whatnot. What about you, Edgar?
I think this might be a midweek metagame first for us since I've joined the cast, but I think I'm gonna agree with both of your picks actually. Yeah, I'm gonna for modern. I'm definitely feeling blue white control. Definitely not feeling chant as much as non-chant. I think I would just be maxing on cheap interaction, maxing on dress down, and maxing on planeswalkers. Sorry, I would have chance, but not the scepters. Um, and yeah, I'd be doing that. And then for historic, I've been loving the Gen deck, and I like that we both kind of arrived here, and I'm going to try some of the specifics that you've been playing, and I'm looking forward to playing that deck more. I think.
Sweet. Well, if you made it this far, as always, thank you so much for watching/listening. Um, Edgar, where can we find you online?
Yeah, you can find me at EdgarMTG on both Blue Sky and Twitter.
Yeah, I'm Gab Nassif on Twitter, even though I don't really tweet anymore. And I think I'm yellowhat something Blue Sky social on Blue Sky. Don't post a ton there either, to be fair. And then, of course, I stream on Twitch daily, twitch.tv/yellowhat. Got the YouTube channel, the Midweek Metagame podcast channel now. If you're listening to the podcast, but kind of like your podcast channel or podcast content in YouTube form, where I try to do my best to bring up the list we talk about. I hope we're not doing too bad of a job for the people who listen to podcasts, because sometimes we have the list in front, so it can be like you're focused on that and you forget that a lot of people still just listen to us. I think we both try to be cognizant of that and try not to make that mistake. But maybe let us know if we do. And yeah, enough rumbling. As I said, as always, thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Good luck if you're playing in tournaments this weekend, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.